We are ready.
Yeah. I think we'll start very soon. We are still waiting
for a couple more people to join in.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good day to distinguished speakers and fellow members from different parts of the world. I am Melissa Pang, the president of Law Asia, and also the immediate past president of the Law Society of Hong Kong. You are welcome to today's webinar on trade and investment law in Vietnam, which is organized by Law Asia and sponsored by East and Concord Partners, a law firm from China. We are very glad to have the Law Society of Hong Kong and Vietnam Bar Federation as our supporting organizations. And also we have eBrand as our technical partner. This webinar is part of a series of webinars that cover trade and investment law of different jurisdictions in Asia and the Pacific region. Law Asia is a regional law association of lawyers, judges, jurists, and legal organizations. Law Asia represents the interests of the legal profession in Asia-Pacific region. Our members are from different jurisdictions, and they are the leading bar association. And actually today, the Law Society of Hong Kong and the Vietnam Bar Federation are also members of Law Asia. And since 1966, Law Asia and its organization members work together to solve challenges facing the region. We encourage as our core value adherence to the principles of the rule of law, human rights, and international legal cooperation is at the heart of Law Asia. Today's webinar is hosted by Law Asia, and Law Asia has its base in Canberra, Australia. But today we are operated from the legal hub in Hong Kong. So we have to thank the legal hub. In Hong Kong legal hub is actually a place that accommodate offices of Hong Kong and regional and international law-related organizations. Today's topic is about trade and investment in Vietnam. Vietnam plays a very important role in the ASEAN Treaty framework, and it has experienced robust economic growth. In the year 2022, Vietnam GDP increased by 8%, and the World Bank predicts a very strong growth of over 6% in the year of 2023 and 2024. Therefore, we can see Vietnam is a very attractive destination for trade and investment. It's due to its very stable political system, young and dynamic workforce, low wages, and a growing middle class. And also geopolitical tension has prompted a lot of cooperation to diversify their supply chains. And we can see Vietnam has emerged as a very popular
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Try again.
Any problem? Is it okay?
Yeah, okay now. We didn't hear the last part.
Last part. Okay. Okay. I think I'll
Introduce.
introduce the distinguished speakers today. Dr. Lunette, Vice Director, Lawyers Training Center, Vietnam Bar Federation, and partner of LNT and Partner Law Firm in Vietnam. Mr. Jason Lin, Managing Partner, East and Concord Lawyers in the Greater Bay Area office in China. And Mr. Bui Ngoc An, Managing Partner, VILAT, Vietnam International Law Firm in Hanoi, Vietnam. And we have Mr. Amirali Nasir, Vice President of the Law Society of Hong Kong. Last but not the least, Mr. Jacob Sin, ODR Director, Yi Bram International Online Dispute Resolution Center Limited from Hong Kong. Our speakers will each give us a short presentation of around 12 minutes, followed by a Q&A. I have a bell here. It will ring at the last 1 minute so that speakers can wrap up their speech. Subject to time, we have a Q&A session. So feel free to raise your question in the Q&A box. We'll try our best to attend to your questions. Without further ado, we now invite Dr. Lunette from Vietnam to start first. I'll give you a very brief introduction of Dr. Lunette. Dr. Lunette is a partner in LNT and Partners. He is in charge of financial services, infrastructure, and arbitration practice group of the firm. Recently has been leading in a number of signature deals and cases, representing Petro Vietnam in working with Nai Son Refinery, and also acting for a number of subway construction projects in both Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, and representing lender in an 8-bank syndication deal from China to Vietnam. I think I'll give the time to Dr. Lunette. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Madam Pang. It is my pleasure to be able to present before the Law Asia Hong Kong Law Society for the Vietnam Bar Federation. I will give a short presentation on trade and foreign investment post-COVID, and how is it the impact of COVID to Vietnam, the policy of Vietnam government, and how to see the impact of the policy to Vietnam society, as well as the opportunities and challenges to investors. So the first part is dealing with the impact of COVID on trade in Vietnam policy. And the second part next to it is the general legal framework for new investment in Vietnam. So first is on the impact of COVID on trade and investment Vietnam policy. Let's say first we're talking about the trade. The impact of COVID on trade is on the decline on trade flows in 2022. The total retail sales and goods services are down by 79% compared to 2019. And the year there was no COVID epidemic. But because of that, there have been financial assistance, loan, waived taxes and subsidies. For example, we have a resolution 11 and reducing VAT from 10% to 8% for certain goods and services. And we also have a supporting 2% per year interest rates on loans. That also, the rate has been increased back to 10% until June. And from June again, it's reduced to 8%. So that means that the situation is still on progress and they still need support from the government. Then we also have the Decree 34 in May 2022 on the extension of time frame for paying tax and land rental fees in 2022, and those have contributed to success for the GDP of Vietnam in 2022. Immediately, we have a growth of 6.8% per year, is among the highest in the region. But is it sustainable or not sustainable? I have to say that is not yet to be said that is sustainable. Although this year so far, the ADB have at the beginning of the year they keep the estimation that it's going to be like 7% per year, but now the economy is losing out the steam from the first quarter and on the second quarter. So the number of the enterprises that go out of business is also rather the number is rather high. So therefore, the state now reduced the rate of growth to 2.8% per year. So that is lower than, let's say, Bangladesh or Cambodia, and that also put major challenges to the growth in Vietnam. If you look at the macro level, there is a decrease both on import and export for Vietnam, and that has notwithstanding these financial assistance and support from the government. That comes from the decrease in the demand from US and Europe, maybe due to the war in Ukraine, maybe due to the price increase on the petroleum price and the gas price increase, and the inflation in the US that impact to the economic growth. And Vietnam is pretty much linked to the world economy right now. Then the government also have the policy to promote e-commerce, because during the time of COVID, there is a reduce of the restrict of traveling, and therefore they create a boom in e-commerce. So decision on 645 plans to increase e-commerce revenue by 25% per year from 2021 to 25. And then resolution 93 and for fostering state bank to Vietnam to deploy decision on non-cash payment. So those of the policy have boosted the e-commerce. But from the boosting of e-commerce, it go the slowdown and stagnation of retail sector. If you look at the main street in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, you see the sign of decline, that people no longer go out for shopping, but they do shopping online. Transportation as well, taxis and everything is shifting to e-commerce, and that trend did not stop because of COVID ended. Its growth, it continued to grow. And of course, now with the application of AI, that of course is create a lot of opportunities to other sectors, but also create the challenges to many sectors, including our sector, legal services. And of course, the last but not least, the policy of the government is accelerating trade negotiation. As you may be aware, recently Vietnam, US President Joe Biden visited Vietnam and increased the level between Vietnam and US to the highest level, a pair with the strategic partnership to be a pair like the relationship between Vietnam and China. So Vietnam has an equal trade relationship between China and the US, and not only trade, but also national security relationship and diplomatic relationship. For the moment, Vietnam is the biggest trade partner in ASEAN for both vis-a-vis both countries, US and China. and the visit of President Joe Biden also see the growth in semiconductor sector. That's the most promising area, because already before the relationship between the improvement of relationship between Vietnam and China, Vietnam and the US, Vietnam is already the base for production for Samsung, the biggest base for production for Samsung. Also, Apple and many of its subcontractors are considering moving to Vietnam as well. So next, please. Then how about investment? The inflows of investment in 2022, there is down 22.3% even compared to 2021, and the number of enterprise temporary suspending for business is 73,000, so it's up 34%, and 50,000 enterprise stopped operating and waited for dissolution. 18,000 enterprise completed dissolution, and on the average 11,000 business withdraw from the market per month, and that trend is still there in even now. So that we have the Decree 15 on preferential tax policy for the R&D and for labor consuming projects. There is a Decree 31 on incentives on high-tech industry, digital economy, Industry 4.0, tourism, agriculture, and especially sustainable development, by which I mean renewable energy. You also see that recently Vietnam committed to COP 2026, and therefore also received a fund of $15 billion, and they call it GEPT support, to change the source of energy from fossil energy to green energy. Of course, to disburse the money from those funds, Vietnam has to prepare a plan to utilize that fund, and that is now doing under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. Next is the simplifying the regulatory environment. Then there is the Decision 667 on simplifying investment licensing process, visa procedures for investors. So if you go to Vietnam, you can see the change. We have electronic visa, investment licensing process. You also see the change. We already have e-registration for business, and many licenses can be applied online. Then we also have the Resolution 93 on promoting foreign investment, especially public-private investment in infrastructure projects. So, and if you can look at the growth of Vietnam, or what's happening in Vietnam for the time being, you see the growth of expressway in Vietnam is quite fast. We can see that this year, every 3 months, we see like about 100 kilometers of expressway has been added to the system. And Vietnam is planning to reach the total length of expressway to 5,000 kilometers by the year 2030, and to complete the North-South expressway along the whole country by 2025. Just recently, Vietnam also opened the Long Thanh International Airport, and together with the airport, there was industrial parks, logistics, and a new urban area. Next, please. So, and then in 2 big cities, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, you see the new policy. First, you see the resolution of the National Assembly resolution for the special for the special legal regime for Ho Chi Minh City, where Ho Chi Minh City can use their own fund to do PPP projects in many areas. So not only technical infrastructure, but also social infrastructure. In Hanoi, now people are working on the draft of the capital city law. And so the capital city law, meaning Hanoi city, now developing the fourth ring road and new urban areas, and focusing on the metro lines in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. I mean the story of metro lines in both cities become famous because of delays in around Asia in the region. But hopefully that when there is a delay, there's a problem, there is this dispute, and there is a lesson learned. And now from then on, the management the management skills of the authorities have been improved, and therefore that increased the growth of the infrastructure. Now, so what I would like to draw to your final attention probably is the general legal framework for new investment in Vietnam. Is that people know a lot about investment law, but they don't know very much about the master plan, and there is a national master plan that governing everything. And so when you invest in Vietnam, that's the thing you may need to consider. Then in the master plan, they do the zoning. In the zoning, they have the land use planning, and they have social economic development. So if you heard about in renewable energy, you heard about PDP, Power Development Plan. What is this? That is the industry development planning in energy, transportation, utility, telecom. Each of them, they have their own development plan. And so PDP is Power Development Plan, is for the electricity. And that is social economic development for the whole city. But that's linked with something they call it land use planning. I think in that land use planning, we have residential land, industrial zone land, and transportation land. What that framework tell you is that there is a complexity in the planning and land approval and zoning approval around the Vietnam, not only from the industry level, but also on the land level, and not only on the national level, but also on the provincial planning level, so urban planning and rural planning. And when all of this has been complied with, a big project, you may have to go through the bidding, investment bidding, and then award the bid, and you have the investors.
Sorry, Dr. Lunan, can you wrap up because the time is up?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that would be the end of my presentation. I already mentioned about Resolution 98 for Ho Chi Minh City. I already mentioned about the national master plan, the draft capital law, and also the format the other presentation.
Yes.
So that ends with my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lunet, for your very comprehensive introduction to the situation in the economy of Vietnam and the related legislation. I think we'll come back to you at the Q&A time. The next speaker is Mr. Jason Lin. He's the managing lawyer of the Greater Bay Area office of East and Concord Lawyers. He has extensive experience in cross-border legal structuring, family trust, overseas investment, and M&A. So I'll let Mr. Lin to have the time. Thank you, Mr. Lin.
Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join today's webinar. I'm honored to have this opportunity to share the experience of Chinese enterprises investing in Vietnam with you. In recent years, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, this point.
Okay. Okay. In recent years, influenced by the warming relations between China and Vietnam and the Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese companies have continuously increased their investment in Vietnam. As of September 2020, mainland China's total foreign direct investment in Vietnam has reached a substantial $1.6 billion, ranking first among 103 countries and regions investing in Vietnam during the same period, following only Singapore, Japan, and South Korea. Foreign direct investment from Hong Kong amount to $1.63 billion, securing the fifth position. Chinese-owned business in Vietnam exhibit a noticeable regional distribution between the northern and southern clusters. The northern region predominantly hosts a heavy industrial cluster with many large construction engineering companies, chemical and power enterprises, as well as electronic chip and component firms headquartered or having research and development centers there, such as Lixua, Precision, and Lens. Conversely, the southern region boasts better neutral conditions and abundant natural resources, attracting large-scale light industrial processing enterprises and trade-focused companies like Medium. Overall, it is evident that industries that are labor-intensive, cannot be fully automated, or involve trade friction are clearly shifting to Vietnam, where labor costs are lower. And in China, urban direct investment refers to the investment activities conducted by an enterprise located within the territory of the People's Republic of China, either directly or via an overseas enterprise under its control through investing assets, rights, or interest, providing financing or guarantee and other means to obtain overseas ownership, control rights, business management rights, and other related rights and interests. In practice, there are two types of ODI, greenfield investment, and urban M&A. Greenfield investment refers to the investors establishing a new company overseas in accordance with local laws and setting up a complete set of necessary production resources. Urban M&A refers to the investors' direct acquisition of equity in local existing enterprise abroad, leveraging its established production scale, sales personnel, and other resources. In practice, Chinese individuals theoretically, Chinese individuals can make urban direct investments. However, in practice, there are almost no precedents for Chinese individuals to complete the final approval or administration procedure of ODI. In China, if the investors want to conduct the ODI, the urban direct investment, the investors should go through filing or approval procedure with two authorities. One is the Development and Reform Commission. Another is the Commerce Department. After undergoing examination and obtaining approval from the ODI authorities, investors should register foreign exchange for the ODI at the Foreign Exchange Administration in their locality. Once the foreign exchange registration process is complete, the investors can remit funds at the designated bank out of China to the project companies. The cumulative amount of the funds remitted shall not exceed the total amount of foreign exchange funds registered in advance. Authorities often focus on the authenticity of the project and the capital utilization plan. The authorities pay attention to the following situation when they examine the application from the investor. First, the investors should not use the ODI fund in real estate, hotels, cinemas, entertainment industry, sports clubs, and other similar fields. The investors should not use the ODI funds in establishing equity investment funds or investment platforms abroad without specific industrial projects. Large-scale investment projects that are not the main business focus of the investor are also easily cause the attention from the authorities. Investments not funded by own capital. For example, if the investors get a loan from the bank to invest in the abroad, it will cause the attention from the authorities' attention. The parent company is smaller, and the overseas subsidiary company is large. And the investors use a newly established entity to conduct foreign direct investment. In the above situation, the investors may find it difficult to get the approval or complete the final procedure from the authority. And another issue I would like to address here is the legal structure for cross-border investment. No matter which jurisdiction one chooses for international investment, it is essential to consider the legal and tax mechanisms in the home country, host country, intermediate country, and offshore jurisdictions, as well as bilateral, multilateral investment, trade, and tax agreement, among other regulatory resources. When Chinese investment conduct the investment in Vietnam, typically they will consider three cross-border legal structure. The first one is that the Chinese company directly establish their subsidiary in Vietnam. And the second choice is that the Chinese company establish a subsidiary in Hong Kong and then use this Hong Kong company to invest in Vietnam to set up a subsidiary in Vietnam. And another choice is that the Chinese company establish a Singapore company and then use this Singapore company to invest in Vietnam. When the Chinese investors consider which legal structure they will use, they will take into account the following factors. One is the tax consideration. The second is that they want to use the capital market in Hong Kong or Singapore to finance their project. Another is ejection. They can exit the project by transfer shares of Hong Kong or Singapore company. Another is that to use Chinese urban reinvestment policy. As you know, China is a foreign exchange control country, and if they remit the money back to China, it may troublesome for them to reinvest. So they can keep their capital in Hong Kong or Singapore and then reinvest in another project. It may easier. So this is the legal structure the Chinese investors often use when they conduct the investment in Hong Kong, in Vietnam. And here, I would also like to share some experience of Chinese enterprises investment in Vietnam. The first issue is that the investment registration certification in Vietnam. Foreign funding enterprises investing in Vietnam are required to obtain an investment registration certification. In practice, due to difference in procedures and interpretation of investment laws and regulations by some provincial authorities, Chinese investors in Vietnam may still face challenges when applying for investment registration certification. And the second issue is the foreign exchange issue. Similar to China, Vietnam implement foreign exchange control, and the Chinese RMB and the Vietnamese dong cannot be directly exchanged. Chinese enterprise investing in Vietnam need to deal with foreign exchange issues, including the transfer of funds in and out of the country, such as repatriation of investment profit. And the third issue I would like to address is the labor issue. When hiring local employees in Vietnam, it is essential to thoroughly understand and comply with the provisions of local labor laws in Vietnam, respect local customs, maintaining necessary communication with local labor unions, and integrate into the local community. In Vietnam, strikes occasionally occurred, with striking enterprise primarily concentrated in southern provinces and cities. These strikes often involve industries such as textile, footwear, machinery, electronics, primarily targeting foreign-owned enterprises, with the focus on Taiwanese and South Korean companies. In recent years, a few enterprises from mainland China have also faced strikes, and to be honest, the investors in China lack the experience to deal with the strike. So this is the one difficulties the Chinese investors find it hard to deal with. And I would like to get some experience from yours. The last issue is the cooperation with the Vietnamese partners. One of the ways to mitigate risk when investing in Vietnam for Chinese investors is to establish a joint venture with local Vietnamese partners, making use of their understanding on Vietnam market and social environment. The Chinese investors should engage in thoroughly communication and should establish a good understanding with Vietnamese partners. When signing contracts, make sure that the rights and obligations of both parties are clearly defined. This is the experience I share this up here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jason Lin, for sharing the Chinese enterprise experience in investing in Vietnam. Next, we'll have our prominent speaker, Mr. Gu Ngoc An. Mr. An is a Vietnam business lawyer with international experience, and he advises Fortune 500 clients in many of the Vietnam most complex and largest M&A and SOE equitization and investment deals. He has advised our foreign investor in many projects, for example, in the Petrolimex project, and also investment of ANA into Vietnam Airlines, and also financing for a coal-fired power BOT project. So I'll let Mr. An to have his time to give his sharing. Thank you.
Many thanks. Thank you very much. This is Ngoc from Hanoi, Vietnam. So I would like to speak briefly about how lawyers will cooperate, Vietnamese lawyer and foreign lawyers, so that we can work better to assist the clients. So I will share my screen. Yes, hope you can see the screen. So So my topic is how we can foreign lawyers can best cooperate with Vietnamese lawyers. So actually, we cooperate together for the purpose of to best assist clients. And as seen in the last like 30 years, more than 30 years, there are a lot of opportunities for Vietnamese lawyers to work with foreign lawyers for mutual interest to achieve the same purposes, which is to best assist the clients. So I just want to make 2 points on the on the topic. One is that the increasing practice in Vietnam of foreign lawyers and foreign law firms with or even without present in Vietnam. And the second point is the type of deal that foreign lawyers and Vietnamese lawyers can cooperate closely. For the first point, we have seen like a increasing practice of foreign law firms in Vietnam. This because of like a several reason or aspect. First is that Vietnamese legal market is indeed relatively open to foreign lawyers and foreign law firms since very early time when Vietnam opened to the world economy. And foreign law firms can open either a branch or a 100% owned company, or you can joint venture with LLC, with joint venture with Vietnamese law firm. So until now, we have seen like law firms coming from many parts of the world, and with increasing numbers, and most of them are either at a brand or 100%, and we also some joint venture. And together with the law firm, and the number of foreign lawyers working and living in Vietnam has been dramatically increased. So foreign lawyers can practicing in Vietnam can advise on the law of foreign law and international law, and provide other legal services related to foreign laws, and advise on Vietnamese law if they obtain the qualification required for a lawyer, except like a certain legal proceeding before the court. And foreign law firms, the interesting is that foreign law firms that do not establish any commerce presence in Vietnam can also increasing establish and strengthens the working relation with Vietnamese law firms or Vietnamese lawyers over the last 30 years. The development and of the strong cooperation between the foreign lawyers and Vietnamese lawyers perhaps rooted in Vietnam's first open door policy, when Vietnam opened to the foreign investment and international trade in late 1980s, with the increasing integration and development of Vietnamese law on foreign investment, the first time in 1977, and until now. And when at the beginning we have two separate laws for foreign investment, and a separate system for domestic investment. So with the increased integration of Vietnam into the world economy, so all of the laws are now joined together. So since 2005, that's before the last round of Vietnam WTO negotiation, we have only one set of laws that apply to both foreign investor and Vietnamese investor. So we have the same set since 2005 until now. So now we, particularly the law on investment and the law on enterprises, applying to both foreign and domestic investment and enterprise operation. And with perhaps because of our open door policy and the continuously open legal framework and open economy to trade with the world, Vietnam joined various FTA, foreign trade agreement, and also bilateral trade agreement and regional trade agreement with ASEAN and ASEAN Plus, as well as like the WTO and other foreign trade agreement. So the total foreign investment into Vietnam from 1986 until now is about 450 billion US dollars, ranked in various sectors from industries, manufacturing, to banking, finance services, to trading and distribution, almost in many sectors, and ranking from South Korea, Japan, Singapore, and Taiwan. So the second point is I would like to talk is like the deal or the type areas that foreign lawyers and Vietnamese lawyers collaborate. So as like our colleague Jason has mentioned, like the foreign investment from China into Vietnam, for example, have been have deal with many difficulties, both like in China, within China, because of their internal management or control policy, both like for outbound investment, and also when they invest in Vietnam, they also see a lot of difficulties. And so the first one is like a foreign investment in Vietnam, greenfield. I mean, when the foreign investor come to Vietnam to invest, to register their own project and their own company right at the beginning or from the beginning, and to manage and operate their project and companies directly. And the second one, where you see that the foreign lawyers can work on their local, their local laws. I mean the foreign law as well as internal process of the foreign investor, and the Vietnamese lawyers also work with all of the issues here in Vietnam. And the same with foreign investment in the form of like we call like a brownfield field, like M&A, various M&A in various sectors, from the private sector as well as equitization of state-owned enterprise, where the foreign investor has been participating into. So we have seen a lot like Vietnamese lawyers working with foreign lawyers, and either with like they're present here in Vietnam or from abroad. And also we have seen like a lot of regulatory investigation for like corruption, personal data protection, or other corporate issues. And another areas is dispute settlement. We have seen a lot the increasing use of the arbitrations around the world, particularly SIAC or ICC or other international arbitration. If it is related to a Vietnamese company, either as like one of the side or like a Vietnamese law as governing law. So we see like Vietnamese lawyers participate to assist one or both party, or to work as a expert on Vietnamese law issue. So the less is in the dispute settlement in foreign court. I mean, we have seen some, but perhaps not too many as arbitration. But we have seen some cases brought to the foreign court, where like a Vietnamese lawyer need to cooperate with the foreign lawyers in that country to best assist the clients. And another increasing area is Vietnam offshore investment. So we have like a Vietnamese investor going abroad to see and invest in other countries. So in that case, we also need to work with the lawyers, the foreign lawyers in the host country, to best assist our client. And another area is like a foreign import and exports. So I think we have seen a lot of free flow of trade in goods and services, where we draft the contract for the two sides. And another new area is the IPO. I mean, we have seen like a Vietnamese company or the foreign company with the asset in Vietnam. I think the second type is more common, that they want to do the listing abroad in a foreign exchange. For example, we have seen like the set like stock exchange of Thailand, where a Thailand registered company have listed in Thai, but they have asset or subsidiary in Vietnam. So they also need to cooperate with Vietnamese lawyers to have conduct the legal diligence or give the legal opinion and so on for their listing. The same with Singapore Exchange or even Nasdaq. Now we have seen the coming of possible like a Vietnamese listing abroad. So these are the areas that we have seen, or I myself have been working with the foreign lawyers and foreign law firms in the last 30 years to assist the clients. And it's likely that in the future, we can work together in various areas, particularly in these areas, to best assist our clients. And I think that's it for my presentation. I would like to hear some comment questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. An, for your very insightful sharing. I think it's very good news that we know that for foreign lawyers, the Vietnam market is actually open to them. And also the law on investment and the law on enterprise equally apply to foreign and domestic enterprise. And I think that next we have in line, we have the representative from the Hong Kong Law Society. But as CM Chan, their president, is actually, I think is tied up in business in Beijing. So we are very glad to have our Law Society of Hong Kong Vice President, Mr. Admirali Nasir. Mr. Nasir is a solicitor admitted in Hong Kong, England, and Wales. And he's the founder of Nasir Solicitors. And being the Vice President of Law Society of Hong Kong, he also chairs the International Legal Affairs Committee, Indo-TAC Committee, Islamic Finance Working Party. He has a vast experience in international transaction, and also he is an expert in the area of Indo-TAC, which is very relevant in this age. We'll let Mr. Amir to have his time. Thank you.
Thank you, President Melissa. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be presenting a global view of the role of Hong Kong as an international hub. So Hong Kong is actually a vibrant metropolis, and you can see we have a bridge across to China, both physically and of course in many other sense. It's also a connection to the world, and it's an advanced legal and business structures that are available to it. Hong Kong actually wins as the second globally in economic freedom of the world, 2023 report. It's top in freedom to trade internationally, and third globally in regulation. It attracts myriads of Vietnamese-based and other global businesses and entrepreneurs and visitors. Vietnam's GDP is projected to grow at 5.8% in 2023, and being the second fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia. And according to the International Monetary Fund, the World Economic Outlook report released in 2023. So the bilateral trade between Hong Kong and Vietnam has grown significantly at an average annual growth rate of 11.8% from 2017 to 2021. And Vietnam has become Hong Kong's 7th largest trading partner, which is a wonderful achievement. So Hong Kong and Vietnam's strong connection Oh yeah, okay. So we have, if you look at China's 14th five-year plan for Hong Kong, deals with 8 centers. It's an international financial center, international innovation and technology center, East meets West Center for International Cultural Exchange. So instead of just saying that, if you look at the International Financial Center, we have many financial institutions and organizations from around the world. If you look at our financial center, we have many, many markets from around the world. And in fact, when we issued the Islamic Sukuk, there was a high demand for that because of an AA structure. Innovation Center, I just asked you to come to Hong Kong. Innovation is based on technology, and technology can be assessed by the connections that you have. If you come to Hong Kong and put on your internet, you'll see the speed at which you have connection, both on your phone and on your mobile devices and in your laptops, is very high. And when you have speeds at 5G, then you're able to do Internet of Things. And that's what you perceive when you come to Hong Kong. It is also an international cultural exchange center with many different cultures in Hong Kong. And you can experience them and in many different religions, many different countries, and especially the food and diversity of foods. We have international trade. We have a whole vast trading community who trade internationally. In fact, when I travel overseas, they all want to come back to Hong Kong and see whether Hong Kong is now open for trade since 2019. Our shipping and aviation are important hubs across this region because within 5 hours, you can reach the major Asian cities around the world. And of course, we have a strong intellectual property department and of course, trading center as well. We have a thriving common law system, unusual as it is in the East. Our judiciary is independent. We have a very favorable business environment. You can land from the airport, go straight to your business environment within 30 minutes. It's open, it's transparent, and the tax system is very simple and it's a very low tax system. We have a strong regulatory regime in line with all international rules, and we have an efficient and clean government, as you will see when you read the newspapers and when you interact in your business. And of course, we have world-class professional services and legal and notarial services. Our legal system is impartial, transparent, independent, and very efficient. And Asia 3 for rule of law and regulatory quality by the World Bank's Group World Governance Indications 2022. We have a mature legal system, a common law system, which is the only common law system in Hong Kong. And we can truly cite a bilingual common law system with 60 countries around the Belt and Road. Now, if you want to experience this, I asked you to place this on your timetable. 11th October 2023, we have a Peace and Prosperity on the Belt and Road Function International Summit held by the Law Society. If you're a lawyer, you get CPD points. It's extremely reasonable, and you will get to meet all of the international community that comes to Hong Kong. We have a strong pool of legal talent. You can see the numbers there. We have an international dispute resolution center with the Hong Kong International Arbitration Center. We have ALCO in Hong Kong, and we also have EBRAM, which is jointly established by the Law Society of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Bar Association, the Asian Academy of International Law Limited. And it's a cross-boundary, efficient, secure, and cost-effective platform, and it's essential for the ASEAN region and, of course, the APEC region, APEC countries as well. So in conclusion, Hong Kong is a super connector, supports mainland enterprises in going global, and of course, worldwide investors are using Hong Kong to enter the mainland market. Now, as a final test, you could quickly do a pestle test of Hong Kong for your both business and legal environment. Just do the political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, and ethical. If you plot that out for yourself and for your country, you will see why the statistics we have that I've already mentioned stand and support that by evidence. So thank you very much for listening, and let's move on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Amirali, for your very good sharing. I think on this note, I think we should move on to our next speakers. Initially, we have Ms. Emmanuel Tam representing eBram, which is also the technical partner of Law Asia in this webinar. We are very happy and honored to have Mr. Jacob Sin, who will talk about dispute resolution online. I think it's very important on this age to consider how we can resolve dispute in the most efficient and effective way. Time is yours, Jacob. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marisa. I'm just going to share my slide. It's coming up. Yes, and so I will be talking and focusing mostly on dispute resolution. And it is quite rightly so that I'm at the end of all the speakers today, because dispute resolution is quite often the last thing that comes to mind when you think about investment and deal making. However, it is something that's very real, and it's a very real risk that happens. In fact, over 90% of MSMEs, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, often deal or often find themselves in disputes or some sort of issue. But the problem is a lot of them don't have an effective way of resolving those issues, and they end up just not being able to do anything about it. Now, that's obviously not an ideal situation. So today I'm going to talk about effective risk management, no matter whether it's inbound investment into Vietnam or outbound investment from Vietnam. A common way of doing disputes, and this is something that Mr. Punoam mentioned before in his slides, referring to disputes that go in and out of Vietnam. Sometimes you might approach arbitration institutions. You have arbitration as your dispute resolution mechanism. Sometimes you have to end up going to local court instead to resolve your disputes. Now, in terms of arbitration and mediation, that's often known as ADR, alternative dispute resolution. However, there's a newer way of doing this, which is ODR. ODR being online dispute resolution, and as distinct from ODI, which Jason mentioned previously about outbound direct investment. ODR, online dispute resolution, is an evolution of ADR. Basically, it's moving mediation, arbitration online and having that entire process online. So who does ODR in Asia? Well, this is where I come to introduce to you eBram. eBram is an institution, an arbitration institution and a mediation institution. The interesting thing about eBram is that it is also a startup and a law tech company. So this is quite unique, at least in Asia, and if not the entire world. There is very rarely a combination of an institution and a company together. The third point about eBram is that it's an independent, non-profit, non-governmental organization. So it's a company limited by guarantee, which means that it doesn't have shareholders. We're not here to make a profit from disputes. Instead of shareholders, we have founding members. The Hong Kong Bar Association and the Law Society of Hong Kong are both founding members. We also have the Asian Academy of International Law also as a founding member. We have the support of the Department of Justice and the Innovation and Technology Commission of the Hong Kong government to support us. And we also have LSCM for technical support on the technical side as well. We were established in 2018, so we are kind of a new institution. So it may be the case that you have not heard about eBram, and that is why I'd like to introduce eBram to you today. So I've kind of talked about eBram, and for the remainder of my, I think 6 to 8 minutes that I have left, I want to let you know about how eBram can help you with dispute resolution, why it's effective, and what we can offer for that purpose. So the takeaways is, number one, that we are an arbitration and mediation institution that can help you. Number two is that we to do that, we have a set of rules called the EBRAM APEC rules, which is suitable for cross-boundary business-to-business dispute resolution. And in order to support that set of rules, we also have our ODR system, an online dispute resolution platform, that works and accompanies the APEC rules. So what are the objectives of the APEC rules? The APEC rules is really to facilitate all the trade investment. So when people think about dispute resolution, the reason why they don't really like thinking about dispute resolution, because it sounds like a rainy day issue. And when you're doing investment, it's a sunny day issue. You don't really want to think about it just now. However, if you think about it in another way, knowing that when you encounter a rainy day, there is an effective and quick method to resolve any dispute actually gives you confidence to conduct your investment and your deal making, and especially cross-border and business-to-business deal making, when it's still the sunny day. The EBRAM APEC rules was created under the APEC collaborative framework for ODR of cross-border business-to-business disputes. This framework is an international arrangement, and a number of jurisdictions have opted into this framework. This includes China, which also includes Hong Kong. There's also Japan, Singapore, and the United States of America. From that framework, or under that framework, there was published a model procedural rules, and EBRAM APEC rules is based on this model procedural rules. There are a couple of characteristics for the EBRAM APEC rules that's slightly different from the most traditional ADR process. There's a three-tier structure to it. There's negotiation, mediation, and arbitration, all included in the same set of rules. So you don't have to do a custom set of a multi-tiered dispute resolution mechanism. Another characteristic of the APEC rules is that it's an expedited process, so it's particularly suited for dealing with cases that are less complex but need to be resolved quickly, especially when you're doing investment. Money is at stake. You need to resolve quickly because money is time, time is money. The rules are expedited, as you can see on the screen, for each stage in the rules. In the process, it's 10 days for negotiation, 10 days for mediation, 10 days for arbitration. And the arbitrator, in the case where you do reach arbitration, the arbitrator will have to issue the award in 10 days. Now, it is possible, if you need more time, to extend the time for each stage upon agreement by each side. However, we do want to set a default time limit as 10 days to encourage parties to move faster and to resolve their disputes quicker. As part of this process, and to make it quick, the rules also specify having a neutral instead of a separate mediator and arbitrator to deal with the mediation and arbitration stage. Now, having one neutral, one professional to do this means that the neutral doesn't have to refamiliarize him or herself with the case when the case moves from mediation to arbitration. The neutral already knows about what the facts are and what the legal issues are, and the neutral will be able to figure out, because of his or her professionalism, what is relevant to the arbitration stage and what is only relevant to the mediation stage. In order to make sure that these are professionals, EBRAM does offer a panel of neutrals, which are neutrals who have been vetted by EBRAM. So just quickly, in the remaining minute or so that I have, why you would want to adopt the APEC rules. Number one, because of the affordability of the APEC rules. It is very economical to use. And here on the screen, you can see the administration fees that are taken in by EBRAM if you use the EBRAM rules. We divide our administration fees to above and below 775,000 Hong Kong dollars, which equates to about 2.4 billion Vietnam dong. You can see that there's a scale there, and below 775 Hong Kong dollars, this is usually the range that is suitable for MSMEs, or micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. We expect the amount in dispute to be in this range, which is about which is from 62.2 million Vietnam dong to 2.4 billion Vietnam dong. You can see the administrative fee is very, very low, and it's only a very small proportion of the amount in dispute. It's only 3.1 million when it's a $62.2 million dong case. Whereas on the high end, if it's a 2.4 billion Vietnam dong case, the administrative fees are only 21.7 million Vietnam dong. The neutral fees are also fixed in order to make it more affordable for the parties. And you can see on the screen that, for example, if it's a 2.4 billion Vietnam dong case, in the mediation stage, there's a fixed fee of 12.4 million Vietnam dong. And in the arbitration stage, the neutral fees is fixed at 31.1 million Vietnam dong per hour. That's quite a low amount. And then one of the other things that why you would use the APEC rules is because it's associated with EBRAM, and EBRAM is one of 7 qualified institutions in Hong Kong that's eligible to apply to the mainland court for interim measures. So if your counterparty is in China, they have assets in China, and you have a dispute with them, and you want to make sure that they don't dissipate their assets, under this arrangement concerning the mutual assistance in court-ordered interim measures in aid of arbitral proceedings by the Court of Mainland and Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, under this arrangement, and as long as the arbitration is seated in Hong Kong, you can benefit from this easy process to apply to the mainland courts for interim measures. Without this arrangement, it will take a much longer time and a much more complex process to go to the mainland courts in order to get such an interim measure. Finally, one more reason why you want to use the APEC rules is because it's supported by online dispute resolution. Online dispute resolution, as I said before, it moves the dispute resolution process online, which means that you don't physically have to be in the same place as your counterparty in order to resolve disputes. It transcends geographical and language barriers because it also includes translation abilities in both the document translation and transcript translation if you are holding a hearing. It's efficient and cost effective because you dispense with costs that are associated with travel costs, other law tech costs, but it's all included in the same administrative fee that you saw before. Finally, it's a safe and secure platform. It does use bank-grade encryption of data to ensure high levels of security. And so I believe I have about a minute left. And so I'll just very quickly show you some screenshots of how the ODR system looks like. This is the APEC ODR platform. You can see that you can very quickly see your case information, files that you've uploaded, what are the most recent events. There's also a place for you to exchange legal documents, submissions, evidence with the other side and with the mediator or with the arbitral tribunal member. With the mediation and the arbitration stage, you'll obviously have mediation sessions or arbitral hearings, and that can be conducted through the video conferencing system that's also integrated into the platform itself. And finally, if there is any settlement throughout the process, and hopefully there will be a settlement, the settlement agreement can be signed directly on the system by electronic signature, so you don't have to fly over in order to sign the settlement. So how do you use the APEC rules? First thing is that you'll want to review the EBRAM APEC rules. Our rules are available online at our website, and you can use the QR code here shown on the screen as well. And the most important point is to adopt EBRAM's APEC rules into your contracts so that you have this model clause as your dispute resolution clause in the contract. Because ADR, arbitration, mediation, and this APEC rules is a consensus process. It requires you to agree to use this dispute resolution method before you can proceed to use it. And the best way to get that agreement is when you're doing it on a sunny day, when you are drafting up your contract with your counterparty, when you're doing your investment. Give yourself that protection against the risk of dispute by having this model clause, this into your dispute resolution clause in your contract. So this again can be found on our website, or you can use the QR code shown on the screen. So that's all I want to mention today. Thank you very much. And I'll pass on back to Melissa.
Thank you so much, Jacob, for your very good insight and sharing. I think it's great that we have to remind ourselves, like, there are sunny days, there are rainy days. So we have to be mindful of what might happen in rainy days and be well prepared. And I'm here. I'm very glad to say that the Law Society of Hong Kong, Mr. C.M. Chan, just will be able to join us for like a few minutes. I understand Mr. Chan is from Beijing now. So you're going to say a few words. Our topic today is about like trade and investment in Vietnam. Understand in Hong Kong, there's a lot of Hong Kong international enterprise, including the mainland enterprise, are investing in Vietnam via Hong Kong. And maybe I'll ask CM Chan to say a few words at that angle, how Hong Kong can serve regarding like foreign investment and trade to Vietnam.
Thank you, Melissa. Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Pang. And thank you, of course, Law Asia, for giving us the opportunity to share. As Lisa has explained, I'm now in Beijing, attending, in fact, another trade and investments seminar with a lot of international participants. I think it's actually a very good opportunity for me to meet with our Vietnamese friends, to hear from either side the potential opportunities. I'm going to be short because our Vice President, Mr. Amirali Nasir, has just given you a comprehensive introduction of Hong Kong as an international hub and how Hong Kong's legal sector can play an important role in facilitating international trade and business. Just let me start by saying that Hong Kong, we love Vietnam. We love Vietnam food. There's a lot of Vietnam restaurants in Hong Kong. And I think the connection is strong because of the culture. And I traveled to Vietnam on holidays, of course, before the pandemic, very often. On the more serious note, of course, Hong Kong is actively seeking to join the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, RCEP, RCEP, of which Vietnam is already a member. And by joining RCEP, of course, it will be a significant step towards enhancing economic cooperation and fostering stronger ties between Hong Kong and Vietnam. Hong Kong Law Society, of course, maintains a presence in the international legal arena. For example, the Law Society of Hong Kong has signed over 50 memoranda of understanding, MOUs, with lawyers, associations, and organizations around the world, and also in Greater China region, forming a very important international network. If our Vietnamese friends would like to do business with China, Asian countries, or Belt and Road countries, or indeed any other jurisdictions around the world, please consider Hong Kong. Hong Kong can be the one-stop shop for you to acquire high-quality legal services, whether it's dispute resolution or deal-making legal services that you can look for. Of course, Hong Kong being very international, we have more than 1,500 registered foreign lawyers working in Hong Kong, making Hong Kong an international hub or one-stop shop for your international legal services. So without boring you to death, I think final words is I really encourage our Vietnam counterparts and enterprises to make use of Hong Kong's services and platform to expand their businesses in the region or indeed in the mainland China. So last but not the least, I look forward to seeing you at the Law Society's International Summit 2023 to be held next month in Hong Kong. So thank you very much again, Law Asia, and thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Actually, Law Asia, actually, Mr. C.M. Chen is also an ex-co member of Law Asia. And Law Asia always is very proud to be taking the role of connecting our member organizations so that more can be done. And just like today's webinar, I think we are very glad to have the Vietnam Bar Federation taking part and also Hong Kong Law Society taking part. And I think now we will be getting into our Q&A. Actually, for our fellow panelists, I think Mr. Amir, you do have a question you want to raise to our Vietnam speakers, right?
Yes, of course. We'll make it interesting. You were talking, and it's very interesting, you have outbound and inbound investments. But you obviously must have outbound investments through mainland China. So do you prefer to deal directly with mainland China, or do you prefer to go through Hong Kong for all the investments and other trade facilities?
I suppose, Mr. Amir, your question is addressed to both Dr. Lunat and Mr. An, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I would like to see the comments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I think Hong Kong, I think Hong Kong could be a very good connection point between China and Vietnam. The only problem is that the visa. Vietnam needs to apply visa to go to Hong Kong, and sometimes we only have like one entry visa. So single entry visa. So that is the major problem of Hong Kong vis-a-vis Singapore. But if that can be solved, then the things would be changed very quickly, I think. That's the only issue that I can see, and I still quite agree with the 8 points that Mr. Amirul Nasil mentioned about Hong Kong. It's a fantastic place of doing business, and in many ways it's a better way to connect to China than Singapore or other places. And of course, better than mainland China cities. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. See any comment or response from Mr. An? Do you have any experience about China investment into Vietnam, whether they would like to go through Hong Kong or direct, or is there any difference?
Mr. An, we were talking about durian, China buying all the durian. I mean, that's a good investment. And you can always have arbitration as an umbrella. You know, he's talking about sunny days or rainy days. I think Ibrahim is an umbrella for durian trade. So, but you prefer to go through Hong Kong because, you know, culture, food, or would you go directly to China, bearing in mind that you have interim facilities, with Jacob has just identified, interim measures as well?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I or we travel to wherever our client is needed. And, so actually, we also have some clients in Hong Kong and also some clients in China and Australia, and of course, I mean, many in ASEAN country. So we travel all, and in also I think for Hong Kong in particular or China, I think unlike ASEAN, so we have like a 30 days free visa, so we don't need to apply for visa. And but other than that, I mean, we have no problem with the visa, and more and more we travel and sometimes to meet with the client on the legal issues, and to help them to clear more like myself. I work more with the foreign investor coming into Vietnam or trade with Vietnam, rather than from Vietnam to abroad, because only few cases. few cases that we assisted our Vietnamese investor going abroad, and some go to Hong Kong, or I mean, if they open a SPV and a special purpose company, and some other cases. So we work with our friends lawyers in Hong Kong, and for China also. I mean, we work with various lawyers in China and in other countries to assist the clients. And of course, I mean, we have seen a lot of like issues, and I think all of the issues so far from investment, particularly from China now. I mean, we see a lot of even language barrier, and we have seen a lot of like more even time consuming rather than the investor from Singapore or Europe or US. Uh, I think the Chinese company have also conduct a very intensive legal due diligence, and also they check the legal framework quite like intensively, unlike before working with them on a big project. I couldn't like realize that how deep and how to that extent that the Chinese investors are very interested, and they want to look into very detailed Vietnamese law on various aspects affecting the investment in Vietnam, particularly in green field, like the check the landlord. I mean, when they lease the land, they check very carefully on the landlord, and also the all of the procedure to obtain the investment registration certificate, as well as the company, and also the labor issue. And unlike I don't know whether I understood correct, like as Jason said, even remit profit abroad from China, you need to have exchange control. In Vietnam, it's not. I mean, once the company has profit and the company declare and pay the profit in VND, then the foreign investor can exchange the VND into any foreign currency freely at any commercial bank for remittance abroad. There is no like a withholding tax. After the corporate tax, then it is free to for the foreign investor to remit abroad all of the profit they declare and paid in Vietnam. So and also like the foreign investment in Vietnam. Yeah, I also agree with our colleagues. I think said the Chinese investors have been investing more and more in Vietnam, particularly when they have the trade like remedies imposed by the US or EU. I mean, or either anti-dumping or countervailing duties. So they shift the manufacturing in Vietnam to particularly where Vietnam is not like a subject to that kind of trade remedy. So I think that is natural. I mean, but we have seen it more, and also more Chinese companies looking at Vietnam. We also received some trade delegation from various provinces in China come to Vietnam to visit and work with Vietnamese partner on either like a new investment or the import and export of the trade. So I think our the in it is very new. I mean, in the past we work more like there are some Chinese investor working like or investing through the vehicle in Singapore, that directly. But we have seen more recently, and while the investment from other part of the world, even in from Australia and other part of Asia, have been come to Vietnam as well. And I think even like the market this year has been a little bit slow. I think and but it was increased a lot compared to like last year during the COVID. Like my colleagues Nanette said also talked to us, said with us his view and the fact before. And but overall, I think Vietnam has been doing quite good, and we have been assisting the foreign investor coming almost many parts of the world, and also working with our foreign lawyers and foreign law firms coming from almost all of the corner.
Yeah, Ms. An, that's very useful. I think we are about to close this webinar, but I think Jason just have a quick question that you want to raise. I think just make it brief.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to ask you how to deal with the strike. Like, you know, Chinese investors lack the experience to deal with strike. But nowadays,
law, right?
yeah, that's the labor issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to give us some suggestions how to deal with strike in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Strike. I think I also read and also hear your presentation in which you said that some strike, happened in Vietnam, but the strike in Vietnam, I think in the maybe you mentioned or you recall the incident before COVID, I think in 1929 or something, and there's a massive strike and also led to some severe violence strike in some manufacturing plant where they have quite a big number of employees. But I think that issue maybe it is not a pure strike in the proper sense of the word, because strike we have what we call like a legitimate strike in the labor code of Vietnam, in which where the employees have problem and or dispute with the company, then they can work out and discuss either directly or through the employee representative or through the trade union, where they have the trade union, to try to settle the differences or the dispute to prevent the strike. In Vietnam, actually, we have various authority, the labor organization. What we call is the trade the trade union organization from at the company level, at the grassroots level, and also particularly for the strike, the local government authority as well as the central authority are very concerned. So I think whenever you have if you can advise, or there's we also have a set of procedure to how to deal with the strike, so that to make the strike legitimate, or how to make it a peaceful strike. And I think
Ms. An, because we have overrun, and I think I have to close this webinar. And I think this is a very interesting topic regarding labor law. And actually, Law Asia has a very strong employment law section. And I think maybe we can address this issue in a future webinar. I think it's a very interesting topic and very relevant to all investors. Whenever you invest in a certain jurisdiction and country, I think how to deal with the labor issue, labor law is very relevant, very important. And okay, I see Mr. CM Chan raising his hand. Do you have a quick comment? But I can only accommodate like 30 seconds. Mr. CM Chan, you want to say?
Very, very quick. Thank you. I heard that there's a visa requirement for Vietnam travelers. Absolutely. I think I'm not from the government. The Law Society of Hong Kong is an independent professional body, but I will promise you I will reflect this comment to the Hong Kong government, because Hong Kong now granted visa-free for over 100 countries. So why Vietnam still need a visa?
Okay, thank you.
But I'll reflect this. I'll reflect this to the government, definitely.
Yes,
I will.
yes.
We hopefully the issue is raised, and maybe Law Asia's member organization can help each other.
Dr. Annette, you might also want to look at the APEC card.
Oh yes, I have, but many of my colleagues doesn't have. So yeah, that's the issue. Also, for labor, I just have a quick comments in Vietnam strike, it's not a big issue, but termination of labor contract is a big issue. And layoff also, you have to do it properly. Otherwise, it may backfire. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think on this note, on behalf of Law Asia, I have to thank all the speakers, panelists for taking the time to join us today. Your effort is deeply appreciated. And I think in future, for all other participants, please stay tuned for our upcoming webinars. Okay, thank you all, and have a good day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, all of the participants.
Thank you.
And colleagues.
See each other very soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Lynette. Bye.